Uncharted 4, the best game of the generation according to Metacritic, unless you count the Xbox One reviews for Metal Gear Solid 5. Originally, I was going to do a review on Doom 4 to relive through some childhood memories, but seeing the overwhelming positive reviews for Uncharted 4 and that I feel like I should be putting more time into the PS4, I figured I would fork over 90 Australian dollars and decide to clear the dust off the PlayStation. Now, I've never really been a big fan of Uncharted games, with 2 being the only one I enjoyed. They never really felt like they were trying anything new, and I always found the combat very clunky. Compared to other third-person shooters like Gears of War and Vanquish where shooting was also satisfying, shooting weapons in an Uncharted game was like shooting a water gun at a newly painted wall. Uncharted 4 is more of the same but with the minor improvements that you would expect from a sequel. Uncharted 4 follows our boy Nathan Drake trying to live in retirement from the adventure business. When out of nowhere his brother Sam, who apparently he has never once mentioned for 3 games, shows up after being locked up in a prison for 15 years. Sam is in trouble with a drug dealer and needs Nathan's help to find a lost treasure that they've been looking for 15 years. At the start of the game, you're going to go through a lot of time skips. During the first couple of chapters, it establishes the plot and how close Nathan and Sam are as brothers. And it does do a pretty good job at doing this. Story-wise, anyway. Playing these parts made me want to scream at the screen saying, "Get on with it!" It was like a very long pad-out tutorial that I thought I'd never played a game before in my life. From then on, it's the usual Uncharted business. Drake discovers clues to finding an ancient treasure, bad guys find out that Drake knows and follows him around everywhere, and time for Drake to go on a massive killing spree. Set pieces make more sense this time around, focusing most of the location on the Madagascar Islands. Uncharted 3 was a step down from 2 because of how random the locations were. I don't think I had to remind people about the ship graveyard. Uncharted 4 jumps around locations a lot at the start, but as soon as we get to the halfway point, the game is just pure Madagascar. So they are doing what Uncharted 2 did right. Too bad the same thing can't be said about the pacing. At times in Uncharted 4, it feels like the progression in the campaign completely stops. And I feel like it's because of how long the game is. When you make a long game focused on the story, you risk keeping the player interested. Tomb Raider 2 tried to get around this by using side quests and places to explore that give the player experience, but that just meant more busy work to waste the player's time. Actually, I think the reason why Uncharted 4 is so long is because of how drawn out the stop points are. The gaps between set pieces in Uncharted 4 are far too long. There are way too many climbing sections here that go on forever, and there are so many times you can push a box before it gets old. Moving ladders was bad in The Last of Us, but this just takes it to the next level. There's actually little exploration to be done outside these puzzle sections, and for a game all about adventure, that's an issue. All of these wide open areas and little to no reward for exploring them. Tomb Raider wasted our time with pointless collectibles, but at least I was doing something. It's like they took the criticism for Uncharted 3 to heart to try and fix 4, but now we end up with too much downtime. Uncharted 2 had perfect pacing, it knew when to start and slow down. When you got to that city in Nepal, action only keeps piling up until it reaches the climax with the train wreck from the start. They try to do the same thing here with the boat chase, but they just skipped that. So now we go straight to some unneeded slow-ass pacing of Drake struggling to reach out for some rolls. Uncharted 4 has grandma speed on a wheelchair that refills on its nitroglycerin after every corner. Gameplay hasn't changed much. It's the usual run and gun from the cover to cover with occasional platforming. Awful melee combat that's so simple just mashing the square is good enough. Stealth sections that drive me off the wall. Except this time you got grappling hooks, which is overdue for the series. The Uncharted game's never done anything new with their next installment, so it's good to see them actually add something. Something that's been in every adventure game before, but it's still something. Another new thing is multiple choice questions, which add nothing to the series other than for Drake to keep talking. Apparently every game needs RPG mechanics these days. There is the Piton, but they could have just easily scrapped that and just made the climbing sections shorter. At least in Tomb Raider, the pickaxes were multi-purpose tools that gave more freedom when climbing. Normal difficulty kicks my ass a lot. Mess up stealth once and the bad guys will crawl over you. I know I shouldn't be too impatient, but because of how slow the game is, I needed something to keep me awake. The last boss fight has got to be the lamest in the series. Spoilers, by the way. During your final confrontation with Rafe, that one guy that's done nothing threatening since the start, expects me to take him seriously when all he does is talk and stand there during the fight. And the fight itself is dull as hell. When your only option is to dodge and listen, I get rather bored. Especially when the guy is talking about how perfect Drake is. I don't even know why Rafe even had to be the final boss when Nadine gave the Drake brothers a harder time. I understand it's for the purpose of the story, always fighting the main bad guys in the final showdown, but that's kind of my point. Ignoring how scripted the fights were, twice throughout the game Nadine has fought the Drake brothers single-handedly and completely overwhelmed them, showing that even without an army she can still kick plenty of ass. She's even onto their tricks most of the time, so she wasn't just all brawn. While Rafe on the other hand just gets angry that the Drake brothers are better than him. And just like the rest of the Uncharted side characters, she just leaves without a proper send-off, leaving her with a story without an ending. They both just come off as poorly written characters. Sure, it was a story about how greed always leads to death, but that doesn't make the ending automatically good. And that leads to the ending itself. Greed is bad, but both Nathan and Sam come out okay without any consequences for their actions. And while on the topic of bad writing, let's go deeper. Remember Chloe and Cutter who were in the past games? Yeah, I don't neither. Am I the only one annoyed at Sam's drug dealer story? Seeing how Drake is this know-it-all, doing a bit of research on the guy should have been the first thing to do after hearing it. Yeah, some drug lord just happens to believe a story about an ancient treasure and pirates, threatens to kill him and just lets him go. After the revelation of Sam's story being bullshit and Nathan Voluntary's death, Elena seems to come out of nowhere after how pissed off she was with him lying to her. You know, the unnecessary drama bullshit that didn't have to happen in the first place? You know, the part where he could have told her his brother was in danger. Or the fact that he was alive. Or the fact that they even had a brother. Yeah, I have no idea why you're married to him either. And even then they just pretend nothing happened. Problems pile up and they just go away when they feel like it. They must have taken the words "this stuff writes itself" literally and just left the PS4 with a piece of paper. If there was one thing I liked about the Uncharted games, it was its supernatural secrets. I don't know how you could have messed up so bad by not putting it into a perfect setting like this one. They must have gotten their pirate checklist confused with the exploding mummies one because there are certainly fucking a lot of those things. This is more of a Nathan Drake game than an Uncharted game, and that's weird saying it. I'm not a fan of Drake himself, but there is no denying that the action set pieces in Uncharted are some of the best out there. And that's a disappointment because the good set pieces that are here are pushed out of the way to give more time for Drake and pals. Naughty Dog have made some of the most graphically realistic games for the PlayStation 3 and their attention to detail is impressive. But 4 games in, the series has barely done anything new and it's overstayed its welcome. Whatever gameplay there is has already been done better everywhere else. Quantum Break may have not hit its hype, but at least it was ambitious enough to try.